Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on July 1st, 2022 at approximately 6:21 a.m. PST. So, hopefully you've got an idea of where you're heading. I've got a very solid one at this point. Now, before I get into it, I returned to this world, to this life, at this time for one primary purpose. And that is to remind everybody that working together, we can make this a better world for most people. Okay, but it is going to require your assistance, so I am going to ask for your help. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel, because this message has to get to everyone in existence, and frankly, I cannot do it on my own. Society is traveling down a very dangerous time right now. Okay, we're on the same path that society has been on multiple times in the past. Okay, take a look at the Roman Empire, Sodom and Gomorrah. It'll give you an idea of what direction. Now, the people talk about about making this a unified world, getting the people together. Back in 1973, there was a song by the Carpenters called Up, Up with People. Look it up. It'll give you an idea. Now, I don't recommend many songs. Okay, personally, I like the higher-paced country music. But this one happens to be a song. This was literally designed, I believe they were focusing on the Christian faith at the time, but the message is dead clear and applies to everyone. Now, I call myself a spiritual guide because the reality is every tool I offer, if it applies to my life, I'm personally using it. The philosophies of life I talk about are the same ones I personally live by. Okay, now, I've taken my world from a very chaotic, very disorganized one. It's still rather chaotic because, well, my life doesn't slow down. But the first thing to changing the way your life is decide one thing. This isn't for me to decide. Are you content with the way your life is? If the answer is yes, and you're probably ignoring me, but that's okay. It's like I tell people, I make everybody I meet happy. Okay, absolutely everybody. Some people I make happy by showing up. Most of them I make happy by leaving. But either way, I'm making people happy. Or more to the point, I'm offering people an opportunity to be happy. You get to figure out which is which. Now, I am by no means going to try and convince you, well, literally of anything. Okay, all I'm doing is this is what's worked for me. Now, if you're not content, okay, and I'm just going to pause that for half. If you're not content with your life, you're the only one that can decide that. And you couple that with the fact that it doesn't matter what your situation is, you're the only one that can change it. You're the only one that can be successful for you. Now, the reality of it is, here's a major similarity for all of you. First and foremost, it doesn't matter who you crawl into bed with, doesn't matter what skin color you are, how much money you've got in the bank, who you vote for, who you worship. You get the picture? Doesn't even matter what people you know. You're going to die. It's that simple. Absolute black and white similarity. Okay, if you get caught in a house fire, you're going to burn. Okay, there are very few people that I know of. I know of one where, quite literally, their hair doesn't burn. Or at least their arm hair doesn't. I don't know about the rest of them. Okay, there are strange things going on out there, but like they say, like the saying goes, truth is stranger than fiction. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. But am I doing my best to become better by the day? The answer is yes. Do I slip up? Certainly. Okay, but if you're not content with your life, pick one aspect of your life you're not content with. And you're taught that everything is you've got to fear everything. Okay, change is fearful, change is painful, change is scary. Okay, well, here's a change for you. Every time somebody speaks, every time you have a thought, you're changing something. So unless you're crying, unless you're writhing in pain right now, which, by the way, is also a change, which means that's just a real vicious circle. Okay. It's up to you to realize that change is the only constant in the universe. The other thing to realize is it doesn't matter how much stuff you've got, you're not taking it with you. Desire proof of that? Take a look at the Egyptian tombs. 5,000 years ago, the Egyptians thought the same thing. The wealthy Egyptians went, when we die, we'll put all this stuff in our tomb with us to protect it. Because we're going to keep it. Because this goes way back to greed in the extreme. Let's take all kinds of gold with us into the tomb. We'll take our treasured belongings, including some of our slaves, that we don't want them to live anymore either. So we've got them in the next world to tend to us. Bad news. The slaves all died of starvation, unless they killed themselves. I don't know. Okay, I wasn't one of the slaves, at least not in that time. Okay, but you come forward 5,000 years, and we find the tombs all sealed up, and that's great, until you find out that the people died, but the stuff is all there. So if you've got this illusion that you're taking your stuff with you, you're not. Okay, I know of one funeral where the guy was so stingy. How stingy was he? He was so stingy that he would not let his wife buy anything. As a matter of fact, from what I gather, if I recall the story correctly, he insisted that she wash and hang dry paper towel instead of buying a new roll. Well, the long and short of it was, when he died, okay, he had even put in his will that all of his money was to go into the coffin with him. Now, I'm presuming none of you are that stingy. Okay, but he had his wife live in poverty, right? While he had all his money piled up. But the will stated, okay, she was to get absolutely nothing. Okay, the house was to be sold off, and the proceeds were to go into his bank, and then all of that money was to go into the coffin with him. So his wife, she was in tears anyway. So of course he made that stipulation in the will. She found out about it once he passed away, because he never told her anything. So the way the story goes, she goes to the funeral. It's an open casket funeral, and as most people were putting they put a rose or something like that into the coffin with him. She put in a check, right? She wrote out a check on his bank account and dropped it into the bank, into the wallet or into the coffin. Okay, and she turned around and walked off. Well, of course, the lawyer saw this happen, and he confronted her about it, right, after the funeral, because the check was buried in the coffin. And so she turned around, right, and the lawyer confronted her on it and says, you can't do that. The law said his money has to be put into the coffin. And she looks at him and goes, yes, that is I agree. And I did not want to break the law. So, is a check not legal tender anymore? And he goes, well, yes, it's legal tender. And she goes, well, I wrote the check for the entire balance in his account. Okay, so that's legal tender, correct? And he goes, yeah. She goes, then I'm burying his fortune with him. Right. And so she already had, and because the law had to leave her with access to the account, to empty it, his will had to give her access to the account for her to be able to pull the money out. So that was fine. She says that it's legal tender, so I followed the rules of the will. And the lawyer's looking at her really odd. It's like, yeah. She goes, good. Then our time is done. Thank you very much. It turned out she had several million, I don't know the exact number, but she had several $1,000,000 in the bank. Right. That she now could live her life. Now, the moral of this is very simple. And it really comes down to the same thing the churches have been teaching you. You know, that Satan, or whatever name they call him. Okay, in all fairness, whatever name they call her. Okay. She was cast out. Yes, she was cast down to earth. Sent to earth. Okay, to pass on a very simple message. Follow your word. She came down because, as you know, with Satan does not lie. Okay, Satan doesn't lie at all. Okay, but this does not mean that she does not omit. This means she doesn't lie. And the thing with a contract, okay, and this is why she writes them out that way. You write a contract, you follow that word. Okay, but every single entity in existence omits. And there's nothing wrong with omitting what you're up to. Okay, primary example, and the reason I say everybody omits is because of this. When somebody says, what are you doing? Like if somebody asks me, what am I doing? Well, clearly I'm talking to them, I'm recording a vlog. Okay, that's what I'm doing right now. Have I been honest? Yes. Have I been full disclosure? Not a prayer. Okay, and here's what I omitted. I didn't tell you I'm sitting here breathing. I'm looking at the computer. I'm feeling the chair below my feet and my elbows, and my feet and the stool below my feet. These are all things that I'm doing. Okay, I'm also dealing with cellular replacement. Okay. These are things I'm omitting, and every time you're asked and you don't list all of these things, you're omitting something. Now, my older brother, who earlier this year passed away, he used to call this kibitzing, splitting hairs. Technically, yes, but there's also nothing illegal or immoral about splitting hairs. Okay, so when you're taking a look at where your life is, ask yourself, are you content with it? Pick anything you're not happy with. Now, before I got in here today, I put my list together to start with, and that's how far it's gone. And like I said, I recommend going only 3 deep. In my case, I don't slow down much. Okay. What's that? I don't care about that. I don't slow down much. Okay, so I really am on the go a lot. But you start off with three tasks. Well, start off with 1. Get the first 3 written down. These are tasks that are 15 minutes to half an hour in length. Okay, and then start checking them off, one at a time. The reason for the short duration of them is so you can get them finished and feel like you're getting things accomplished. Okay, very important, but if you're not content, you're the one that's going to have to decide you're not content. And one person is not going to change this world. You know, even if we go back to the great, even if we go back to the great icons of the past, one that I do look up to was Mother Teresa. She always went out of her way to help people. Invariably. Right, she was approached a number of times to attend an anti-war rally. And she said flat out, I will never come to an anti-war rally. She says, on the other hand, if you ever decide to put together a peace rally, okay, I will be there if at all possible. And the same thing applies to me in this case. I do not condone war. I will never tell you that war is a good thing. War does not bring peace. Okay. And the sad part is that for at least, that I'm aware of, at least 10,000 years, Okay, mankind has been using the excuse that war brings peace. It's good for the economy. Well, if it was good for the economy, every time a war breaks out, the stock market wouldn't tank. Okay, if it caused peace, people wouldn't rush back into war. War brings quiet. Because clearly, if people are shooting over your head or throwing bombs at you, you're going for cover, you're going for protection somewhere. Okay, some sort of a guard. Okay, but mankind is still doing this, and you're finding new and exciting ways to find really, really flimsy reasons that you're not the same as the next person. Tell you what, you don't desire to be the same as the next person? Put down your anger. Start and put down the negativity. Start turning to the people around you and reach out to them. Now, before you jump on that brilliant idea that, when we're downtrodden, how do you look at the positive side? Well, I'll tell you, you certainly don't look at the wealthy people that are walking on your neck. Okay, I'm not suggesting you turn to the people that are beating the stuffing out of you, mentally, emotionally, financially, whatever. I'm talking about your neighbors that are in the same boat. Talk to the people you know. Talk to the people you relate to. Find similarities with them. We take a look at the poor people. Okay. And I'll tell you, when we talk about financially poor, go to so-called third world countries where they don't have all this electronic stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I like my luxuries. That's the word I'm looking for. You go to the people that are living without technology as we know it. Most of them are so much happier. Yes, they are hungry. Okay. But they are happy. Not content. But then they don't know how to correct the problem. The silly part is that the people in the so-called first world countries do know how to correct the problem and they're choosing not to bother. And I do put it quite that way. I do put it that way quite literally. We talk about, these are the downtrodden, and of course, you live in the slums. Well, you live in the slums because the wealthy people are too, frankly, and this is going to go over like a lead balloon. The wealthy people are so caught up in how much money they have to have, sitting doing nothing in their bank. Okay, that they refuse to take care of the buildings they're in. Okay, they've refused to make the neighborhood that they've got buildings in better. Okay, I bought a property. I'm a millionaire. I've got more money than you do, therefore I'm better. Of course, the elevator doesn't work. The power keeps going out because the electrical wiring is shot. Okay, there are people in these buildings. Okay, and when I'm talking about the poor looking, reaching for the positive, I'm not talking about going, oh, my life is great. Your life, in all fairness, if you don't have enough money to put on your table, your life sucks. It's just that simple. I've been hungry before. Years ago, I tried my EI. I'd gone on to EI, and EI screwed up. They told me they screwed up. And I already knew, obviously. But when I turned to social services to get assistance, because EI had said, I've screwed up, we screwed up, the money's on its way. I was already tapped, so I went to social services. And I said, look, I'm quite willing to pay it back dollar for dollar as soon as the check comes in. Okay, because I'm out of food. I barely managed to get my rent and my utilities paid off enough that I was not going to, that I was not going to be on the street. But I ended up with nothing in my house and with no food. Well, I had bread and jam in my house, and that was it. Okay, and I had enough money at the time that I'd squirreled away that I could get a couple more loaves of bread. But that was it. I turned to social services and went, I need assistance. And I'm sure some of you have gone through this. But social services turned around and said, because you applied for EI, we can't help you. Right? So do I understand firsthand what it's like to go, I just don't have the money? The answer is yes. Okay. Now, I ended up going a month, and that was way too long. I'll tell you, you guys that have done it for years, I do feel for you. I can't do much about it. Okay. The other day, I had to turn somebody down because I just didn't have the money to do it. Not without hanging myself. And I will tell you, the reality of it is, it wasn't a question of did I want to go out and really, deal with anything. It wasn't that. It wasn't a question of I don't desire to help. It was literally, I didn't have the nickel to rub together, never mind anything more. Because I had tapped myself so tightly. Right. But for those of you that are living, they're living with not enough food in the house, no functional shelter. When I talk about look to the positive, I do not mean look at the fact that, oh, well, geez, you're still breathing. I'll tell you that is not enough to look to the future for. Whenever people talk about, oh, we're going into a recession, I'll tell you, the poor people never notice it. You're already fighting tooth and nail just to keep food on the table. It's no wonder that many poor people turn to crime, turn to stealing, because, you think about it, the people that are wealthy, they turn around and they hold on to their stuff for, with a death grip. You can't take it with you. But when I'm talking about look at positive things, I don't mean look at the rest of the world and compare yourself to the millionaires that are out there. That doesn't work. Okay, and I'm not going to profess to know what it feels like to be forced to live on the street. I've never done that. Okay, but I will tell you this. When I talk about reach out to the people around you, I mean reach out to your neighbor. Okay, the people that are living in the same kind of situation you're in. Start banding together. Start helping each other. I will tell you, if you've got only $2, okay, and this is just an example. If you've only got $2 and a loaf of bread costs $4, if you've got $2, you can't buy a loaf of bread. If you've got $2 and your neighbor has $2, and the two of you go down together and you spend that $2, that $4 combined, you can now buy a loaf of bread together. Okay, this doesn't make it great, but it's a heck of a sight better than both of you having nothing. This is why I say that we have to work together. Turn to the people that you know. Okay, but I will tell you this. Meeting somebody on the street does not mean you know that person. That does not mean you're necessarily friends. They're still strangers. You don't know much about them. Okay, this is why I say find people to connect with where if you run into a snag, that you can do something with it, that they can help you. Because no man, no woman, no entity is an island unto themselves. Okay, this is a situation where we have to look to each other. Now, the weak point in society is the people that are the hardest done by. Okay, now I will tell you, when I've got money, I will buy a random stranger groceries. I will buy a random stranger, a meal. I don't go around handing money to people. I did one year at Christmas. Okay, and I probably will again at Christmas. Okay, when I've got the money to do it. This year looks like it is looking reasonably promising. Okay, but you turn to the people, your neighbors, you're probably under a staggering amount of stress. And, do I go down into the really poor neighborhoods of my area? No, but understand, I also don't go into the really wealthy parts. I am lower middle class. Okay, that's what my income is. At least as far as I understand it. Well, no, in all fairness, my income is below poverty line from what I gather. Just curious about that now that I've mentioned it. Let us see. If we just go poverty line in BC, Canada, Kelowna, which is where I am, in Kelowna, BC. I'm curious what the poverty line is. Okay. The 2019 BC Child Poverty Report Card showed 17% of all people in the region live in poverty. Oh, there we go. Where are we? A sixth of all Central Okanagan children are living in poverty. Well, that's just sad when you think about it. Okay, I'm just looking to see if it actually gives us a number. And apparently not. It's giving percentages, but not an actual dollar. Oh, wait a minute. There we are. Poverty, yeah. Okay, poverty line, they say, is at 29,891. So, where are we here? Couple with, okay, if you've got one child, it's supposed to be 36. So I am literally living below the poverty line. Okay, I right now am living below the poverty line. Lone parent with 2 children, yeah, it doesn't tell you there. But yeah, I am under the poverty line. Okay, so I do not have a lot of money. Okay, and that's just the reality behind it. Many of you are in worse shape. Okay, I mean, I'm above the poverty line for a single person. Lone parent with 1 child. Yeah, I'm just over the poverty line for a single parent with 1 child, which is what I am. Okay, but I'm not above it. Because that's the 29,891 is a lone parent. Okay. In my case, I'm above that line. Okay. But only barely. Last year, I think I made 32. Okay. But the reality, what I'm referring to is this. I can't tell you what it's like to be a millionaire. I haven't been there yet. Okay, but I will tell you I will one day get there. Here I am, 59 years old, and I'm only just getting my head on straight. But the first thing that we've got to do to turn this society around is start turning to the people close to you, get to know them. Like I said, just real quick there again. Like I said, if you've only got $2 and a loaf of bread in your area is 4, okay, talk to your neighbor. See if they've got $2. Do not ask to borrow the $2. Ask to go down to the store with them to split a loaf of bread. Now, don't get me wrong. A loaf of bread is still not much. This is not a cure for you. This is simply a coping method so that you've got something to put on your table. Okay. Do I understand that side of it? Yes. Sorry about that. By the way, this is a live recording, so you're going to get that as well. Okay, I just don't edit anything. I will, as soon as I get done here, which is right away, I will just double check the date, and then I will post it as is. But I got things to do, and I've got a bunch of things I got to get done today. And bearing in mind that we are hitting the half-hour mark here, I will be back again tomorrow. Take care of yourselves and each other, and until then, for pity's sake, stay positive.